Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 8 through 20. It starts off, you see the poor oppressed, that justice and righteousness rights are denied. And our natural response is, where's God? Why does God put up with such things? And, we wouldn't, right? And yet, we think God is unjust because we think that God should get in there and correct the corruption that we ourselves are responsible for, this corrupt world, and that we keep making more corrupt. And again, it's just as throughout the book it says, you cannot fathom the will of God. You don't know what came before the beginning and what's going to happen at the end, and we are to trust that God is a righteous judge who will bring it all about. Now, he goes on to say that the lover of money never has enough, never is satisfied, and even though they have an abundance, it produces no satisfaction. It provides no rest. And I want you to think about, how do our possessions come to possess us and control our lives and not necessarily give us the joy that we intended? So many of the things we possess are just a hole in our lives that we pour more money down and more toil into, right? He goes on to say it's better to be a laborer who is content with their simple life than to have all these things that bring no joy. And he goes on to say, he talks about how we enter this world naked, and we're going to leave this world naked. All the things that you're collecting, they're not going to go with you into the coffin, and they're not going to go with you into life beyond. There is no such thing as a hearse with a ball hitch on it, right? And so the possessions that we have in this life are only for this life, and they are to be enjoyed in the present. We have no control over the future. And so we are to live enjoying the present. Doesn't mean we don't plan for the future. But the point is not to have anxiety and fear about the future, but to receive the present as a gift. And again, he asks, what do we gain for all our toil? We're chasing after the wind if we live without God. And he talks about in verse 17, he says that, this is a grievous wickedness, evil, if we live without God, because we eat our bread in darkness as opposed to eating it in the light, that we eat it with ingratitude and fear rather than with joy and thankfulness. And he talks about how all that we get for all our striving and anxiety is vexation and frustration, affliction and anger. And we look around our world and we see so much of that because folks are not at peace with God, and they're trying to correct the corruption that they themselves are creating. And so to wrap it up, if we don't take our possessions with us, how shall we live? In verses 19 through 20, it is a blessing to find satisfaction. To have satisfaction is to have Sabbath time, to look at all that God has created and say it is good, and to accept our life, to be happy in our toil, to be satisfied with the work we do, and to enjoy this. All of this is the grace of God, the gift from God. Well, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.